Hey, good morning, everyone. Scott here. I would like to take just a couple minutes to share with you how to use one of the fantastic startup selling worksheets that we have available on the member site. Let me go ahead and show my screen here. And the worksheet that I want to share with you today is called the Startup Selling Problem and Pain Worksheet. So one of the sort of main tenets that I'm constantly espousing with you and with everyone that I talk with that's out there selling their product, selling their service, is that when we're talking to our potential customers, we're talking to our prospects, it is absolutely critical. It's absolutely critical that we remember that customers only care about their problems and they don't care about our product. They only care about their problems. They don't care about our product. And so it's important because this mindset, this perspective that we take at the earliest stage of a sales opportunity, from the point even before we're having a sales conversation, through our marketing, through our blog posts, through any communication we're having at the market, the way that we are portraying what it is that our company does on our website, all the way through to those initial conversations with a key executive, a decision maker, somebody in the organization that we're trying to sell to. It's an absolutely important fact that we stay focused on the customer's problem first, and after we've established what problem they have, and after we've been able to explain back to the customers what problems they're experiencing right now, and maybe even explain their problem in ways that they have not yet been able to articulate it, only after we've done that work do we then have permission and have the trust to do the selling of our product, right? And so this is a key tenet, as I mentioned, and it's the first step in what I call the Q framework. So the Q framework is answering a series of questions so that we can quantify and qualify our sales opportunity. And so that very first question that I talk about in the Q framework is, what problem are you solving? And so to help you with changing your mindset, if you need to change it, or to adjust the way that you're presenting what it is that you do with your company, with your product for your target market, I've created for you this problem and pain worksheet. And so the way this works is if you've gone to the member site and looked at some of the presentations there around the topic of what problem are you solving, then in that presentation, then you will have been exposed to a number of these problems or pains that executives at companies have. And so I'm not going to run through what each of these problems or pains are and define them, because I'm assuming that you've either already watched that presentation and that information on the member site, or that you can just simply go back and check it out to get those definitions. What you want to do to use this worksheet is identify specifically whether or not your product or your company is able to directly solve one of these or more of these problems or pains for your target market. Now, it's important to note that I've got here two columns here. So we've got the list of the different problems and pains, and then there's a column for primary and secondary. So primary means that your product or service directly and primarily focuses on solving one of these key problems. Secondary means that you might be able to solve that key problem or that key pain. It's just not the primary reason or the primary reason why somebody would buy. So as a quick example, and I'll use my experience when I was working with Blend, which is an enterprise software company selling to banks and mortgage lenders. So the mortgage industry has undergone a huge amount of change in the last 10 years. And one of the challenges that the industry has had is adopting new technology and coordinating the activities of different parts of the lending operation. So if you think about when you apply for a mortgage, there's all kinds of people and all kinds of processes that happen, right? You're working with a mortgage broker. That application might go to a loan officer. The loan officer will then send it to a loan coordinator and then an underwriter. And then if the loan is approved, then it has to go to a funding group. And then from a funding group, it goes to an approval group. And then the approval group, it goes on and on and on. So there's all of these different factions that are involved with getting a mortgage approved. And so for that particular industry, because they don't have very good systems, they don't have very good technology, one of the biggest problems is that they actually lack coordination across different business units. And so when we were selling Blend, one of the key pains or the key problems that we would solve and show that we could solve for bank and lending executives is that, hey, when you encapsulate your entire lending process using this single platform that we've built, you're going to improve the coordination of your different business units and get a better, faster outcome for the loans that you want to approve, to approve more mortgages for more borrowers, which is a good thing. So that was one of the primary focus areas of our selling proposition, was focusing on this ability to improve coordination across these different business units. So that would be, for us, we put a check mark there and say that's a primary area, primary problem. Now, a secondary problem for us was around regulatory and compliance. So because the mortgage industry has gone through a ton of changes in the last decade, there are all kinds of rules and regulations and new compliance standards that are required for banks and anyone that is lending in the mortgage industry. And so the benefit of using a single platform is that now we could aggregate all the data and then provide a report as an output that the regulatory and compliance people at these different lending institutions could use when they had to go and present or provide findings to different regulatory bodies like the OCC or the SEC or any of the other agencies, government agencies that were overseeing the entire mortgage industry. And so while we did not build the Blend enterprise software platform specifically to solve regulatory and compliance problems for the industry, a byproduct of having a modern platform that improves coordination is now we have all this data, we have this information that's available electronically, we can put it into a simple report that could be downloaded, all that data could then be very quickly presented, and as a byproduct of using this new technology, now the banks and lenders would then be able to solve for these regulatory and compliance problems. They'd be able to report faster, they'd be able to find any places where perhaps they were not in compliance with some of the rules and regulations. They can make adjustments to the business processes. So for us, it was a secondary area that we were able to solve for our target industry. So now there are other places along these problems and pains that we could espouse to solve the problems or pains for executives in the target market. We just kind of chose these two as the main area. So you'll probably find as you go back and review these definitions of these different problems and pains that you may feel like, wow, we can actually solve 3 or 4 or 5 of these different problems or pains. What's really important is that you focus in on the 1 or 2 that are most important for your target market, because if we are going to our target market and trying to teach them about our product and tell them that we can do all of these things, then the perception is that if you're trying to do a lot of things really well, then chances are you're not doing any of them very well at all. So you really just want to focus on what are the 1 or 2 primary pains or problems that you solve, and what are the 1 or 2 secondary pains or problems, and just identify those and make sure that you internally with your team, whether it's on the product side, the sales side, engineering side, make sure that everybody is really, really clear about the problems and the pains that you are solving and the direction that you are taking the company in the way that you are addressing the market, the way you're communicating with them on your website, in your marketing, on your sales calls, in your presentations with existing customers to help them understand the value proposition that they're getting, the value that they're getting from using your product. So the way to use this worksheet is to simply go through, make sure you understand clearly the definitions of each of these problems or pains, and you can do that again by going back and looking at the presentations that are available on the member site under the what problem are you solving, and then identify whether or not this problem or pain is a primary or secondary place that you can solve a problem for your target market. And then the last thing you want to do here is just write out with a couple of short words, how do you do that? Specifically, directed at your target market, at your industry, at the executives that you're selling to, the different buyer types, for example, that you might be selling to. It's kind of critical that we just don't say yes, no, yes, we help with automation, or no, we don't help with X efficiency, or yes, we create new information. We want to just make sure we're really clear on how we do that. And so that's why there's this box here to sketch, just to write in a few words or sketch out some ideas on how specifically you solve that problem or pain for your target market. So that's it. That's how you use this worksheet. I would definitely encourage you to use this as a regular exercise. Make sure that as you're going back and learning, as you're going and selling to your target market, identify if, well, we thought, for example, we were solving the coordination problem, but it turns out the real problem that our target market wants is to create new information. And so you can use this as a regular grounding point for your communication and the way you're presenting your product or your service to your market. Maybe this is something you want to do monthly or quarterly with your team. You can use this worksheet with new sales hires when you're getting them on board, or anybody that's representing your company out there in the public sphere. Right? Maybe you have somebody on the product side who's going to be going to a conference and standing at a booth. Well, this would be a great opportunity to use this worksheet with that person just to recap and make sure that that person is on message and understands the key problems and pains that your company is focusing on solving, so that when people come by the booth, they can direct the conversations around those customer problems and ask questions related to those problems and pains, as opposed to simply just dumping product demos on top of people that are walking by the booth. Because as I said in the beginning of this mini presentation, the most important thing we can remember is that customers care about their problems. They do not care about our product. So this worksheet is designed to help you identify the problems and pains that you solve for your target market, and helps you articulate that message both to your customers and also internally with your team. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. You can post a question on Facebook. If you've done this exercise and you want to share it, and you want to ask me if you get stuck or you have some questions, and post a message, send me a note, and we'll work through it together. All right. So that's it. Signing off, Scott Sambucci, and we'll do it again soon.